of your when I see your beautiful faces, my heart fills up, your names, because I know the things that you have going on and what it means to carve out time. I'm also super grateful to those of you who are getting on from other time zones, because I recognize that some of these ladies, a lot of these ladies are local. And there's also very fun things that we get to do in person when like coffee meetup and things like that. So it's extra special when we can include our online community as well. I was just explaining to someone today who's new to my world that Soul Care Sanctuary has developed over the last 3 years out of a calling on my heart to bring women together who may need to hear from others that you are not alone. And it may be a good reminder coming on this call and seeing other faces and other women in various stages of life to know that we all are carrying our own set of burdens as well as responsibilities, as well as decisions, right? We all have those things in front of us. And I've been working through some of my some of what I want to offer to our community based upon this idea that sometimes we're carrying things that aren't even ours, right? And at the end of the day, though, it may be that it does require our attention and our responsibility. So one of the things I'm just going to name here at the very beginning, one of the things I take issue with in Mel Robbins' book, Let Them, is that might be easier said than done. There may be a component of showing up as a courageous and compassionate woman that means we can't just blow off our responsibilities or our healing or our decision to make a transition in our lives, whatever that looks like, relationships, how we grieve, how we show up for other people who are in our life going through difficult times, the way we show up as a caregiver. I know we have several of you on here that are in the midst of that for aging parents as well as dependents. So I'm just mindful that we show up carrying a lot. So every so often, it's good to be reminded of why we were put here on this earth. And I'm hoping the clarity method that we're going to walk through tonight will help remind you of some of those truths and promises. I wanted to start tonight with a visual. I'm not sure how many of you still have your vision boards. Maybe you created them online with us as part of our coaching group, what we hosted in January. Maybe some of you are still compiling yours. Maybe yours is still in a corner somewhere. Oh, Regina just had hers out. Yep. Maybe you looked at it and then tucked it behind you. Amy Pebler, I know yours is right there in front of you on your desk. Yeah, and I actually pulled mine down this week because we're at the 6-month mark of the year, and I wanted to just sort of check in with myself. And I wanted to look at the parts that I had, the things that I had kind of selected as important to me 6 months ago, and bring those kind of back into the forefront, because it was valuable enough that we took time to do it in January. So there's no reason we can't revisit it from time to time, whether you're doing it on a quarterly basis here at the mid-year, or even next year as you head into 2027 and you start to think about what next year is going to look like as opposed to this year. So my new one always takes precedent. Yay, Christy. And Christy made hers with her daughter too. Isn't it good to be reminded, like, this is what we spent time on. And there's a reason that we took time out to do this. I give Amy Vanderland, and now we have all three Amy's on the call. I gave Amy Vanderland a hard time in front of a whole group recently. And I said, Amy, I'm so sorry, but I'm calling you out. And she went home that weekend and she had already taken time to cut all of her pieces, but she took time that weekend to start to put it together. So I love wherever you are in this process of becoming the woman God has called you to become, that you're showing up tonight for what it means to look at a mid-year vital decision or a vital choice that you're going to make to either pick a vibe from your vision board or an actual action that you want to see happen. One of my favorite stories, I guess I love telling on you all, but one of my favorite stories is one of the women who used to be in our community. She talked about how she wanted to do more horseback riding. And so she sent pictures to us for accountability of her horseback riding. Linda, I'm going to call you out on kayaking, which you weren't sure that was going to be your gig last summer. You put it on your vision board anyway, and you went to kayaking. So there are ways, there are actions, there are actual things that we can that we can bring about because we are intentional about seeking them, despite the roadblocks, the obstacles, the hardships, the difficulties, the burdens that we face that we're carrying at the moment. And so that's kind of what I wanted to start with as an introduction. I do want to put in the chat a link because I updated the Clarity Companion a little bit. I didn't change all of it, but I did update it. I'm in the process of starting over with my email list. So all of you are going to be getting, that's why you got so many from me through Heartbeat this week, because I don't have another system right now. And I'm lacking verification that emails are actually getting through to you. So in a week, you can start looking for emails from AngelaLahman.com again, but we chose to shift email providers. And so that means Tuesdays with Mommy, which has been near and dear to my heart for 4 years now, has taken a little 2-week break, and I'm ready to get back to it next week. So I'm in the chat below, over or on the side, however you're finding your chat tonight. This is a link to the Dropbox of the Clarity Companion. It looks very similar to what we've done before, but I wanted to give you the direct link if you want to look at it. All of you are on my email list, minus maybe a couple. So I'll make sure that you get that when we get going on that next week. All right, let me make sure I've said everything that I wanted to in my intro. Yeah. Okay, so let's begin. By way of a slideshow, I'm going to share my Clarity Companion with you. So let me make sure. Yeah. Let me make sure that I have it here. We're going to start similarly to when this is something that you can also go through and do on your own later. But we're going to start with step 1, which is to pause. And again, I didn't come here to talk at you all night. I do want you to do some reflection and work. This is similar to what I've done throughout June at the 6-month mark for myself, and how I've arrived at what my next 6 months are going to look like based on what I've discerned I'm co-creating with God. So trust me on the clarity method as a way to sort of step through some of the hard stuff in order to get to the action stuff. Because if you're anything like me, or people that I've been talking to recently, you may have said to yourself, I can't keep doing this. Life can't keep pushing me this way. I'm super disoriented or feel completely out of my element here. You may believe or have heard, I feel disconnected from other people or from myself. You may feel pulled in a million directions. You may hear me talk about vision board and say, vision board, do you have any idea what's happened to me in the last 6 months since I made that thing? Does it even still matter anymore? And the biggest thing I hear is, I just don't even know who I am right now and who I'm called to be. So as we begin, we're going to evaluate our life alignment wheel. And what separates this from other ones that you may have seen before is that instead of soul care or spirituality being a wedge on the wheel that you're judging, right? Or you're evaluating, it's the whole foundation. Soul care truly is about how you are connecting to yourself and your higher power, who I call God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit out of my Christian belief in the Trinity. It's your inner guidance system, that intuition that talks to you, that nudges you, that encourages you. But out of that foundation, we're not evaluating it. We're assuming we're doing that we're showing up in soul care for ourselves. And pausing gives us a moment to evaluate the other parts. So if you want to look at these things, you can write them on a separate sheet of paper. You don't need to speak them out loud. I'm not going to check in on you to see if you've done your homework, right? I just want you to consider as I read each of the wedges on a scale from 1 to 10, how you would rate your how you would rate each one. So if you rate it as a 1, that would mean this area feels depleted, low energy, not a lot of attention. And 10 would be, I feel deeply nourished in this area, aligned, and perhaps even thriving. So again, 1 low, 10 high on a scale there. So the first one we're going to start with are your relationships. How committed or how nourished or depleted would you consider your relationships in general? And yes, that includes the messy ones. I know some of you, what you're walking through, some of the messy ones. How would you rate your health and wellness? And when it says stress there, that means how well are you managing the stress, not how high is your stress. The next one is your mind and emotions, your mental health in particular, and how well you're taking in information and even outputting it, right? We are inundated with short attention span information. Are you taking all of that in at rapid fire speeds? Does that feel depleted or does it feel nourished? What about with your career or your mission? Because I know many of you are either partially retired or working part-time or fully retired. So what's your mission in this next stage of life? And how does it align in terms of your thriving? And some of you are on summer vacation. There's that too. Ask me in a month. Ask me in 2 months what I'm feeling about this area, right? But right now, a snapshot. Your lifestyle and your fun. What are you doing for leisure, for hobbies, to focus on the things that bring you joy, your interests? Does your worldview feel small and depleted? Or does it feel expanded and aware? Next, I separated out money and wealth from your career because sometimes our financial situation and our investments don't come with a price tag that's connected to our work. So how is that on a scale from 1 to 10? And then the last wedge is legacy and giving. Your time, energy, your talent, your gifts, where are you plugging in to places that could use those? And do you feel like it's aligned with your current state in life? So as you look back through your whole wheel, circle the 3 lowest numbers. You don't have to physically do it. You can just do it in your mind if you're not taking notes. These aren't necessarily failures. I want to be clear. These are energy leaks. These are places where you may be pouring from a cup that is dry. And many of you have been around our community long enough that you know I talk about giving from the overflow. So when you look at legacy and giving and you're like, I have nothing left for other people, how are you filling up your cup so that what you are pouring out comes from the saucer, from your overflow? And what could you do to nourish and take care of your own self in order to create more of that overflow? What surprises you about this activity? Let me go ahead and stop share for a second. What surprises you about going through a wheel like this? Where have you been pretending maybe that everything is fine? And which areas have you maybe been neglecting because you're trying to carry too much all at once? Yeah. This is a mirror, not a judgment. This is merely a take a breath, pause, and get clear about why or how things aren't feeling like they need to be yet this year. If you're living out of alignment with something that really actually matters to you, it could be adding to your feeling of depletion. Let me say that again. If you're out of alignment with what actually matters most to you, that could be why you feel depleted or confused or overwhelmed. So the next part of step 1 in pause is to look at your core values. If you're chasing activities or things that are outside your core values, you may be coming up dry and dry and dry and dry because it doesn't align with you. So now look at those core values, and I'll put a list up here in a second, that are most true to you right now. That doesn't mean they're not ever, like obviously there are some basic ones that are true for us all the time, but which ones are most important at the moment? Let me put the list up. This is a partial list. Very partial. Those of you in Inner Circle have an expanded version of this, just FYI, when you go back to do this later. Integrity. Objectivity. Community. I had designated, some of you picked a word of the year, I know. Maybe a core value is connected to your word of the year. For me, I picked 3 values at the beginning of the year. One that had to do with margin, white space. And with the onset of swim lessons the last 3 months, I didn't realize how I squished my margins. So I've had to make some other decisions based on April, May, June, and July, right? And I had to adjust that. It became important to me in community to do swim lessons, but that meant my margin season got diminished. Is that making sense? So you're selecting things that take priority now by design, not just by default. And like I said, this is a very small list. You can also just Google core values and get eons and lists and pages of these. So which of your lowest scoring area actually violates one of your core values? That was my aha moment in June when I was like, oh my gosh, I did not account for less margin when I was teaching every day. So my core value of margin felt trapped, I felt a little trapped. Woo. And I'm just going to skip ahead all these pages. Okay. So and then the other question to ask yourself, are you living someone else's values that are not your own? Either by demand or by default. Sometimes we take on somebody else's values because we're living with them. We have to negotiate things with them. We have to compromise. And in the course of that, like I said at the beginning, it's not that the burden is a failure. It's just recognizing the energy leak for what it is. It doesn't have any bearing on whether it's good or bad. It's just a reality that this is where my energy is leaking. Okay. Here are some other examples that might be clearer than my margin one. Maybe rest, or like my margin one, is one of your core values, but you rated your wellness, your physical wellness low because you've been hustling to meet someone else's definition of what your body shape should look like. Maybe connection is really important to you, but your relationship scored low because you've just been trying to get to as many relationships as possible rather than really filling your cup with the ones that matter the most. Is that hitting for anyone, those examples? Okay. I wanted to make sure that connected. The last one is maybe creativity is a core value that lights you up, but your joy, your fun wedge is depleted because you've been told that play is just frivolous and you should work harder and your productivity matters more than your happiness. Okay. Be aware of that. All right. This is data. This is not judgment. This is simply data, evaluating why we may feel depleted, why we may feel overwhelmed. The things that I promised you we would talk about is important to look at it objectively as part of your vital actions forward. Next. This is where we decide how we feel about it. And this is a really hard graphic to see online, and I'm really sorry for that. But what are you carrying feelings wise, emotions wise? Moment of truth. Amy's physical therapy office just sent out a great email this week about secondary emotions and how they can wear on us. Like we think we're doing everything right, but it's the underlying stress, overwhelm, busyness, shifts of summer, whatever it is that drain us. So how do we come back and really name what that feeling is? And this is part of what's called emotional agility, which is a catchphrase in the industry right now, quote unquote, about how well we're building our resilience before we tap out, before we end up sick, before we end up so depleted that we can't possibly give back. So wedge, right? Life fulfillment wheel onto our core values, then to how we feel about it. Now, you could be feeling content. I'm good. I'm 6 months into my vision. I know where I'm headed. I know what I need. I've got a clear path forward. And so you may feel powerful. You may feel peaceful. You may feel trusting, but you also may feel some of these other things. And the clearer you get on how you're feeling about it, just naming it will help I be able to shift it. There may be actions or behaviors or spiritual practices that you can shift in place of doom scrolling, for example. I cannot walk outside anymore in Arizona this summer. I am devastated. And also, I live a half mile from Planet Fitness and I have a car that can drive me there. So I drive the half mile to Planet Fitness and I get on a treadmill. Now I do have a treadmill here, but it's one. So if I want to walk with Jerry, I have to go get two at the Planet Fitness. But my point is, we have blocks, y'all. We have blocks to the goals that we've set for ourselves. But how do we work around them if we are just constantly kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping that it sticks? It has to feel aligned with our values. It has to meet our needs, and it has to feel good and take us from a feeling of frustration, despair, overwhelm into a space of clarity and consistency. Sometimes we call anxiety busy. Oh, I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy. But really, it's our heart racing behind that, because we want to feel peaceful, but we feel anxious about something going wrong. We may feel or say out loud that we feel tired, but it could be sadness that we're holding on to instead. And we may feel angry, but somebody told us a long time ago that women aren't supposed to feel angry, or we're not supposed to feel angry or ungrateful. Anger means ungratefulness, whatever the attitude is attached to. And so we just call it stress. When I asked on my Facebook wall a couple weeks ago how many people are feeling stressed, so many people are at a 10 plus, y'all, on a daily basis. How do we recognize 10 when the water is boiling over and turn the oven or turn the stove down, so that we can lower that level, so that we can name the anger, we can name the despair, we can make some changes that will shift our attitudes and behaviors. Okay. So I want you to write down, you can write down your feeling if that comes out to you first, or answer this question. What are you carrying in this season in particular? What is the thing that you are carrying in this season that feels the heaviest? What is it that you are carrying? You don't have to overthink this. This is between you and God. And then how does that stressor or that thing that you're carrying make you feel? It's not even fair for me to call it a stressor, that catalyst, right? That thing. And then in any good somatic practice, we identify where we feel that emotion in our bodies. These 3 questions are interchangeable too, y'all. If you are coming tonight and you're like, actually, I can't get my shoulders to relax, I'm grinding my teeth at night, I have a headache all day because of, grinding at night because my jaw is clenched. That may be the signal that gets your attention first, and then you walk your way backward. Oh my gosh, it's my jaw. I'm grinding at night because I'm so stressed. I'm stressed because of this particular situation, or I'm angry and I can't say it, so I'm biting my tongue literally, right? And clamping my mouth shut. So track it whichever way makes the most sense to you. If it's the body showing you first, if it's the emotion showing you first, or if it's the burden showing you first. Remember that feeling your feelings won't destroy you, but suppressing them will. That's why we come to a safe place when we do coffee, when we see each other outside of this circle on Zoom, and we can freely hug and cry and just know that others are going through it too. So in any session I lead, because of my passion for aromatherapy, I ask you to find something that smells good to you, because I know not everybody has essential oils. So whatever it is that smells good to you, it can be a lemon from your refrigerator, since none of them are ripe in Arizona right now. It can be a leaf, a flower. I just saw Christy's beautiful bouquet as she walked away. That was awesome, Christy. It's amazing. Whatever it is that smells beautiful to you, take a moment to put your one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly. You're going to take your oil or your scent. Remember that your olfactory is the thing that connects directly to your limbic system. So after all of this sort of thinking, processing, writing, evaluating, reflecting, we're going to bring it back to letting our limbic system release some of what we're holding on to. And we're going to remember that this is a moment of suffering for us, whatever the circumstance might be. We're going to see the other names on this screen in front of us and recognize that we are not alone. This is something that we share with others, whether their situation is the same as ours or not. Our shared humanity connects us. And then we're going to take just a second to write a note of compassion to ourselves. And for this one, I want you to put it in the chat. Because in the same way that you would speak to one of the women on this call, I want you to say it out loud to yourself. A word of kindness. Doesn't have to be a long sentence. These are great, you guys. I'm going to take a moment to read them aloud. Just sit in the moment. You can close your eyes if you want. Allow the words to be spoken into your heart. You are stronger than you believe. Stay steady. Keep your obedience to God first. Thank you for showing up for you today, for trusting yourself and taking care of yourself today. Give yourself grace. Dear Mickey, Amy, Lucinda, Linda, Regina, Amy, Christy, Amy, Mickey, Keely, Molly, Christina, Dee Dee, and Crystal, breathe. Don't let one hard moment rewrite a lifetime of love. Give yourself the same compassion you so freely give everyone else. You are not afraid, and you can let go of what you carry that is not yours to carry any longer. You are worthy of peace and happiness. You are made in God's image. He is not trash, so neither are you. Breathe deep and rest. Slow and steady, you've got this. This season won't last forever. You're still loved. This isn't your fault. Beautiful. May you be held by these words now and when you revisit them later. In the clarity method, the next step is into discernment. And in my opinion, these words come from a holy place, a sacred place from our God. And so for your work after this call is over, you may decide to use the page on discernment from the Clarity Companion to have more conversation with yourself this way. Asking yourself what you really need and want. What feels, what looks, what appeals to you in this season for this time that meets your needs and helps you further that connection to your spiritual being. And then I want to say clearly too that releasing our burden doesn't mean, like I said at the beginning, that we stop carrying what matters most. So this isn't just about abandoning our responsibilities that we have, but it's asking what part of this burden is asking to be released. So in your discernment and and I find that journaling works really well for me. You can also do out loud sort of voice recordings for yourself. You can come to coffee with us. You can also ask God hard questions and sit in silence and wait for answers. Release isn't just about putting everything down. It's about deciding what gets to come forward with you in this next season and what serves who you are becoming. I use a lot in my own work for myself and others. What am I co-creating with God? Not just about what do I want, but how am I being molded and shaped and used in this season? And I'm just going to tell a quick story before we transition into the next invitation. I've revisited this story a lot, so I'm hoping I can tell it succinctly. I know I can tell it succinctly. I've revisited a lot since writing the Clarity Method because I don't get to talk to my mom about stuff like this anymore. And so I've just had to sort of go back in my mind's eye. But when I was separated from my husband in the spring of 2011, so it's been 15 years now. The spring of 2011, we were separated but living in the same house. I wanted to just curl up and kind of peace out. And my mom said to me, "Oh, but we have things to do." And I said, "I don't want to do anything. I just want to feel sorry for myself and just sit here and not have any of that extra responsibility." She said, "Well, Ange, we already started to plan for a retreat for high school youth to come to Prescott with our family." And Kellis family, you'll remember this as well. Health Balance Leadership Camp was born in the middle of my divorce. That timing didn't work for me. That didn't work for me at all. I did not want to be in Prescott teaching young people how to be who God created them to be. I didn't want to be talking about peace and wellness and vision with high school kids. I just wanted to be kind of in my angry sort of, I'm really mad about my separation and divorce, whatever. And my mom was the one who said to me, this is a season. It's not going to last forever. Who are you becoming through this hardship? Can you get still enough to hear God's voice? How does that align with your core values? What is most important to you for your kids and for your future and for the legacy that you're still building? Y'all, high clarity method. She was taking me through a process that I didn't recognize as a process because she was just my mom and a really awesome mom and a really great school counselor. But when I look back at the things that she did, there were these steps. How do you feel about it? Okay, you're mad. We're going to go do this thing anyway. Okay, you want to be sad about it, but we have a presentation at Centennial for another group of students that we're going to see. Okay, mom. So sometimes in the same way that she took me kicking and screaming through this process, I'm here for you. I'm here to take you kicking and screaming through the process, because what comes out on the other side is a better version of who you are today. And so that's my short snippet of where the Clarity Method was born, because I had to revisit it on my own when she died in November of 22. And I recognized that life was never going to be the same. And so it's taken me almost 4 years to put this together as a process that speaks to, and hopefully for other women to embrace and embody, to pause, to release, to discern, and then to make a decision. And that's where I want to kind of bring us to full circle before we close tonight. I've used a lot of nautical themes while I've been building the Clarity Method. Not that I have any sailing knowledge or boating knowledge, but I just think a compass and a true north as it pertains to my faith and my decision to follow Jesus is really important. And so we've named what we've been carrying and what's holding us back. You're also starting to discern what serves you best in this season. And now you're going to ask yourself, what is my soul inviting me to in the rest of 2026? What is my soul inviting me to in the rest of 2026? It could be healing from something that's been holding you back, becoming more grounded in your own worth, having a camp for young people, even when you feel mad about it, reconnecting with joy, your creativity, maybe spiritually reconnecting, building something that matters to you. I'll tell you, Mickey, when I was texting with you today, this is important for the whole group to hear. Mickey and I were already talking about Christmas because we have worked together on a Christmas project the last 2 years. And I thought of this as I was looking at the rest of my 2026, right? How am I showing up for a project, a legacy, a body that needs my gifts and support better? So Mickey and I started talking about that already. Some of you have participated in our toy drive. I know some of you have, you'll be blessed by what we're going to bring this year as well. Maybe your calling for the rest of 2026 as you look at your vision board is one thing in particular. Y'all, I turned 50 in December. So the things on my vision board that pertain to menopause, just going to name these things, my themes on here that are about being 50. So I got menopause. I've got Japanese words like ikigai, living value. I also have making menopause cool. on there, right? So I mean, so whatever the theme is that's jumping out to you, to me, it's this new decade. It's this new, for me, it's a big milestone in my life. How am I reflecting on scripture that informs what's next? I figured out today, or this week, or this last few weeks while I've been working on this, that so if I'm 50 and I live to 90, that means I have 40 more years. And I've really only lived 30 years, right? Because 20, you're kind of like a dependent until about 18 to 20 years old. So really I'm going to live longer than I've already lived moving forward. I love that. Now, how am I going to do, now I'm going to live forward with all that wisdom. So I'm starting to connect those things for myself. So that's the kind of discernment, the decision you're making. Then what feeds that? What feeds and nourishes that part of who I am, and how does it live out in my life fulfillment wheel? Practically. How does it connect to my core values? So this process is linear, but it's also cyclical, because you can go back and say it does or it doesn't, or this is the thing. So guess what's coming back in 2027? Retreats. Because hello, 50, we're doing retreats again. I took this year off and I am missing it a lot. So that was my funnel for myself. That was my soul's invitation. That is the direction my compass is pointing. What is yours saying? And the last question for you there, as you're taking your notes and maybe taking something away from this conversation, what's the first step you could take in the next 90 days that navigates you toward that invitation? If your soul is inviting you toward healing from loss, and you haven't really, we say sometimes we haven't dealt with it, the first step is to join a group that is doing the reflection. Yeah, exactly. Whatever that group is for you. If your soul is inviting you toward a more grounded sense of who you are and who you're becoming, maybe there's a new daily rhythm that anchors you, or a spiritual practice. If your soul is inviting you toward greater confidence, maybe this is about naming a belief that you're ready to release and the truth you want to claim instead. Taking off the armor and choosing vulnerability. This is you charting the course. So let's review in a nutshell what we've done. Hopefully you have a little more clarity about what you're actually carrying. We kind of shined a spotlight on it tonight. Maybe there's a new way that you can name what's draining you. Hopefully you feel that you have permission to release what no longer serves you. An invitation to your soul for the last part of the year. And a 90-day navigation to take those first steps toward your soul's invitation, and to keep revisiting the Clarity Companion as a way to get you there. The steps at the end of the Clarity Companion, just to be clear, is after you've chosen your soul's invitation. And these are some soul-aligned goals and things that you can look at later. You can turn this into a goal, right? Like I named the retreat thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be accomplishment-based or achievement-centered, whatever it is that you're working on. You don't have to know when you've arrived at the thing. Like, yes, we had the Health Balance Leadership Camp. It was awesome. I grew so much from leading kids when I felt so broken. It was a powerful time in my life. And my mom was right to force me into it. But the fifth step is about sustaining. How do you keep going when you want to give up? And so maybe there are words or phrases that you want to pull together based on the worksheet. And perhaps you need a little extra support. And that's why I wanted to make sure you knew about how to revisit things with Soul Care Sanctuary. You all are welcome to be part of our free group for the coffee meetups, for our free Zooms, for our sessions that we often have. Our discussion board, Regina gave us a really good discussion piece this week that resonated with a lot of us about what we leave in the past, right? But you can also upgrade into a paid membership and come back every month to 2 group coaching sessions that allow you to dive deeper into Clarity Method. I actually am walking through the Anchored and Aligned workbook, which is just the Clarity Method expanded for July, August, and September. We just had our first session on Tuesday. That also includes on the second meeting of the month an Aroma Freedom session, which is taking that self-compassion moment we had and expanding it to allow old patterns that have gotten locked in your limbic system to dissipate or clear because of your use of your olfactory gland to do that through aromatherapy. You also may feel invited into my next offer, which I'm opening online, but I may end up doing in person depending on who's available and wanting to do that in July, August, and September. This is a safe space to process grief, transition, or loss. Some of you participated when I was going through my training with Shay, my mentor in grief care. It's called Healing Circles. It's not coaching at all. It is literally a facilitated experience of silence and an opportunity for you to be witnessed, asking good questions and processing out loud some of the things that you're walking through in order to more fully understand and heal from them. And then I also offer one-on-one care, especially if you're going through a significant life transition. In the same way that my mom walked alongside me, it's my blessing and my honor to walk alongside other women as well. So this information is available to you. This invitation is open to you as well. To be really clear, I am going to send out some information about Healing Circles in the next week. Like I disclosed at the beginning, I'm building a new email list platform. So if you're missing information, just text me or call me, chase me down, and I will send you what you need. Because I don't want anybody to miss out on the beauty of what happens when we are in community together. As we close tonight, know that you have participated and embraced, and I'm so, so grateful, a model of soul care. It's hard to explain sometimes to people because it's not church and it's not necessarily even a devotional, but it feels holy. And it's work that we as humans, in the same way Jesus walked some hard paths, are called to walk as well. You are tending to yourself with compassion and courage. I wasn't taught not to carry my hard thing through the difficulties that I have faced, but I was shown how to find my footing in the midst of it. And for that, I'll be ever grateful. So transformation starts here, but it continues with the accountability of your crew. So if we can be part of that in a small way, we would be honored to as our Soul Care Sanctuary. And also this tool of the Clarity Companion. use it. Ask me questions about how to use it if it feels difficult. Whenever you need to remember your compass, just pull it out again and try another page. The questions there are endless. But you don't have to lose yourself while moving toward who you are becoming. And I'm honored to be on the journey with you. Thanks for being online tonight. It's lovely to be with you all. I'll stay on for some questions, but I am going to close our recording.